Hello and welcome to your Lettings Finance training. In this video we're going to be looking at payments. That will include paying your contractors and producing the contractor remittance advice, paying yourselves as the agent, making any non-resident tax payments, and also the payments to make report. If we jump across into Expert Agent, via your top finance menu and your payments sub-menu, Contractor Payments is the second one down. Whenever the contractor payment screen loads, it will load to show you any contractors who you have with balances available to pay. You'll be able to use the deselect all button and that will untick everybody in the list, and then you can just select any particular contractors you're wanting to pay. However, you can use the select all to confirm you want to pay everyone within the list. At the top of the screen, the payment date will default to today's date. So if you're needing to backdate a payment for any reason or forward date a payment, you can do using the calendar icon alongside the payment date field. You want to confirm that the payment is coming from your client account. For any agencies who are multi-branch, you'll also be able to filter to make the payments for a particular branch. When you're happy with your selections, you'll click the Pay Contractors button. That will process the payments for you and open up the Payments to Make report. The Payments to Make report, as with your landlord payments, is the report that you can use to physically make those payments from the bank. So it will list all the contractors you've recorded as wanting to pay on that particular day, with the amount and the bank account details that relate to that particular contractor on the right hand side. You can print this report out or export it to a CSV. Or as with your landlord payments, if you make bulk payments and you want to create a bank export, you can do that from here. Once you've physically made the payments from the bank, you'll probably want to send your contractor some documentation to confirm what you've paid them for. In the same way you would with your landlords, you're going to do that by way of a remittance advice, and you can do those remittance advice from this screen in bulk to everyone that you've paid today by clicking the Email Remittance Advice button, checking you're happy with your email subject, selecting your email body template, so the cover letter that your contractor is going to receive, and selecting the remittance advice template itself, so the document of the PDF that they're going to get. Always tick the box at the bottom, untick emailed records on completion. That will mean if any of your contractors are set up not to receive email, or for any reason those emails don't send, you'll be alerted to that fact once you've clicked the save icon. So if I save now, you'll get a pop-up to confirm they've been processed. And then on the Payments to Make report, any remittance that have sent will become unticked. Any contractors that the remittance couldn't send for whatever reason will remain ticked in the list, so you'll know that these will now be the ones you'll need to print. And the contractor remittance will look like this, and this will be the same whether you're printing or emailing. If we're choosing that email option, as with our landlords, these remittance will be a PDF attached to the cover email, but they'll be addressed to our contractor, detailing how much you've paid them and when, any invoices that have been included in the payment, less any commissions if you're using commissions, so the contractor can see exactly what they've been paid for and mark those off in their own accounts. After you've looked at contractors, you may well next want to look at agency payments, and you'll use your agency payments section for transferring your own monies out of the client's account across into your main business or office account. You can do these transfers as frequently or as infrequently as you want. If you make a transfer daily at the moment in your current system, you can continue to do so in Expert Agent. If you make that transfer at the end of the week or at the end of the month, you can continue to do so in Expert Agent. But what you'll want to do when you're ready to make that transfer is come to the top finance menu, into the Payments sub-menu, and to Agency Payments. This screen will open and it will always open blank because it will want you to populate a date range that you're wanting to make your payment for. If you're wanting to pay everything up to date, you'll leave those dates blank and that will load for you any agency invoices you've taken the money for, so sales invoices you've taken the money for, but you haven't yet transferred that money out of the client account across to the main business account. Or if maybe you're wanting to do this just for monies you've taken within a particular period. So for example, maybe you're doing this at the start of the month and you're wanting to just make a payment for any fees that you took the previous month. So you're wanting to exclude any fees you may have already processed today, for example. In that scenario, you can use the date range field to populate the dates that you're wanting to load. Either way, whether you're entering dates or not entering any dates, you're going to click the refresh button and that will populate onto the screen for you any sales invoices that you've charged and taken the monies from, either from landlords or tenants, and you haven't yet transferred that money out of the client account across into the main business account. So for me, I've got these invoices here. If there are any in this list that you don't want to include, you can untick them. Equally, you've got the deselect all and select all buttons at the bottom should you need to use them. You've got the same options to select the payment date, so if you're needing to backdate for any reason you can using the calendar icon there. You've got the opportunity to confirm the payments coming from the client account or to filter by branch if needed. And when you're happy with your selection, you're clicking Make Payments. When that process is run, you'll get a green pop-up to confirm that the payments have been made successfully, and the Payments to Make report will open again for you. You can print this report out using the button at the top or export it to CSV. You don't get the same remittance option for agency payments that you get for landlord and contractors. That's because this is an internal transfer between two of your accounts, your client and your business, so there's no need for that external documentation there. A printout of this report or exporting it to CSV will suffice. You'll see all the invoices included in the payment listed below, and more importantly, you'll see a total at the bottom, so you'll be able to make one transfer from client to business. For me, that's £198 for the monies that I've processed today. The next type of payment to look at is going to be non-resident tax payments. So for any non-resident landlords that you may have, where you need to deduct tax from their payments, as we've already looked at in the landlord payments training, when you process your landlord payments for those relevant landlords, tax will get deducted. That tax is then held within the client account as reserved tax monies until such time that you're ready to process a payment across to HMRC for those monies. At the end of the quarter or whenever it is you're making the payment, you're going to go to your top finance menu, to the payment sub-menu and to NRL tax. You'll get the option to enter a from and to date in. So you can leave those blank and it will load everything for you that's available to pay, or you can pop your quarter dates in, or whichever date range you're looking at making the payments for, and you'll click the Generate button. That will load for you any tax deductions you've made from landlord payments within the date range you've selected, so for me within this quarter here. If there are any tax deductions you don't want to include in the payment for any reason, you can untick them to exclude them from the payment run. You're going to want to confirm again the branch and the bank account you're making that payment from. You can change the transaction date if that's going to be anything other than today's date under the transaction date section on the left hand side. And when you're ready, you're going to click the Pay Tax button. That will run the payments for you, and it will open up the Payments to Make report as normal. We'll be on the Tax Payment tab. All the deductions will be listed individually with a total at the bottom, so you know how much you need to transfer out of the client account across to HMRC for the tax deductions that you've made for the relevant quarter. Again, you can print this report off or export it to CSV. If for any reason you ever close the Payments to Make report down inadvertently, you can always get back to that same report from the top finance menu, the Payments sub-menu and Payments to Make. When it loads, it will load blank, and you'll need to populate the date range that you're wanting to look at. So if we were just wanting to look at today, because we'd accidentally closed it, for example, we can set the authorised from and the authorised to dates to today's date and click the report button on the right hand side. That will load the report for us, and then we can scroll through the tabs in the grey bar to see those payments that we've made today. We can also use this screen to look at payments that we may have made for a different period. So this is a fixed report. Payments will always stay on this report. So I could run the report, for example, for the month period. And I'd be able to see any landlords that I paid within that period, the dates those payments were made, any contractors, tenants, deposits, agency payments, and tax payments. So you can use this report to flick through any of the payments that have been made for any period. And as always, these reports can be printed or exported to a CSV, so you can hold on to them for future reference. That concludes this video for now. Thank you for taking the time to watch.